Welcome to your anatomy lesson for today. We are on topic and on theme for what this week is about. We're going to look at the calf muscles. We're only going to look at two of them. So they are on the posterior of the tibia and fibula, so the shin bones there. Okay, there's two of them there. A more surface one, a bigger, bulkier one that most people think of when they think of calf muscles, and then a deeper one that lies closer to the bone. Now, what you need to know about these two is that they have slightly different functions and that they need different things for strengthening and they need different things for stretching. All right, the first muscle, the bigger one, the one, again, you think of and you see the bulk and that feels so good usually to get a massage, is called your gastrocnemius. Okay, kind of a fun name. Sometimes people shorten it to just your gastroc. So it's your gastrocnemius. What you need to know about it is that it separates into two, what they call two heads. The origin, the start of that muscle, it branches off and it goes to one side of the femur, your thigh bone, and the other side. So it goes above your knee. So it passes your knee joint and goes to either side. That's why it splits, to go on either side. It can't be just right behind your knee. There'd be bulk there and you wouldn't be able to fold your knee. Okay, so it spreads out, goes into tendons there, and then at the bottom it goes into the biggest tendon of the body, the Achilles tendon, that goes into your heel, otherwise known as your calcaneus. Now, deeper to that is a muscle called the soleus. It's kind of the unsung hero of the body. It often doesn't get much attention. It's deserving of a lot of attention. It also goes into the Achilles tendon, into the heel or calcaneus, but it does not cross the knee. It starts below the knee. Now, a fun fact about the soleus. In certain circles, anyway, it is often referred to as the second heart because it is responsible for pumping the blood from the legs back up to the heart. So if our heart is a pump, the soleus is a second pump in our body. It's not just muscle contractions that send the blood back, it's specific muscle contractions. So that muscle really close to the bones, right? And it gets right in, it pumps on the deepest veins to pump it back. Okay, so if you're not using your soleus deeply, there's a lot of problems that goes on there, including not having as great a circulation as you could. That's not a good thing, right? So what do we need to do for the strengthening? When you're on a straight leg, doing, say, flat foot to 3/4 point rises, you will be strengthening the gastrocnemius. Same thing when you point your foot on a tendu. When you go plie rise, or you're doing a releve or something that came from a plie, the time that you are using the lift of the heel, but you have not fully straightened your knees yet, so through the first portion of that, you are strengthening the soleus. So a word of advice for home practice and, of course, teachers. Please do both. The straight leg rises, we do so many of them. I think it contributes to overuse of the calf muscle, the gastrocnemius one, and often an underuse of the soleus. And ironically, the soleus is the muscle that we use when we're actually dancing, because when we're dancing, we're not going around doing a lot of straight leg rises, or straight leg jumps, straight leg releves. We're not doing that. So a straight leg rise is a good strengthening exercise, yeah, but it's not the real kinetic chain that we probably use when we're dancing. And if we do too much of it to the exclusion of doing like a plie rise, which you'll see in the video, we are missing out that deeper muscle, the pump of the lower leg. That's so important. Okay, so go ahead and watch the video where you see the girls doing a plie push to rise. And in there, I kind of also trying to teach them the difference between plie and straightening as they rise versus plie, straighten, then rise. Okay, and you'll notice they have some trouble with that, and that's okay. I want you to notice that and learn along with them. Plie, push and rise, plie, push to rise, plie, push to rise, balance, plie, push and rise, plie, push and rise, balance, one more set, plie, push and rise, plie, push and rise, head to your right, head to your left, head up, Let's do it one more time. Plie, push and rise. Plie, push and rise. Balance. Balance. One more set. Look right. Look left. Look up. Center. Good. What we do need now, that was actually pretty good. It's okay if there's little blurbles, again, if you're human. What we do need now is somebody who thinks they can understand how to show a slightly wrong version. And that means that instead of stretching your legs and pushing the balls of the feet at the same time, that you use the old habit of always going plie, stretch, and going like this. Plie, stretch, and then push. And you know, you didn't wait till your legs were straight, so you go, oh, I still pushed with bent legs, but you actually didn't start at the bottom. You went there and then pushed. Anybody think they can show that version? Okay, anybody absolutely sure that even if Presley's doing it a little different, you could do it correctly beside her? So we can show the difference. Anybody else absolutely sure you can do it correctly? Starting from the bottom with the push? Okay, Claire, let's see if we can see the contrast. Claire, you're going to try to make sure you push right from the bottom. Can you show me one? Yeah, and again, push at the, yeah, okay, but you're not actually doing demi-pointe, sweetheart. Did you know that? Okay, show me again. Demi-pointe. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you were almost trying to, like you were bending too much. Okay, now, and then Presley, show me where you're going to go bend, start to straighten. Yeah, start to straighten. Don't fully straighten. I think the music's going to be too fast for you to do it. Like where you actually go straighten and rise. Head, head, look up. Let's try it again one more time. And balance and turn the head. Right. Okay. You were doing it incorrectly, but you were doing it a lot incorrectly. Okay, so thank you, you two. Anybody else think they can do it just a little bit incorrectly? Now, can you all try to do plie, legs, then feet? Not finish the legs, just start with the legs. Because believe me, like that's nice that you're all doing it correctly. It's also rare. They absolutely, somebody who watches this needs to see the difference of going, oh, I am starting with my legs. Just like that one. Yeah. Okay, so can you see if you can manage that? Plie, legs to feet. Legs to feet. Legs to feet. Legs to feet. And head. Hands. Look up. Rest there. Yes, actually, you're all pretty good at that. So I just need 2 volunteers. One to do it totally perfectly and one to do it the version you just did. Okay. So Kiana's going to, which one do you want to do? I can't hear you. The perfect or the mistake? Correct. Okay. Anybody want to be the? Okay. Thank you. I'm not going to cue verbally. Awesome. Thank you. Yes, that was, did you guys all see the difference? Yeah, thank you. Well done. Yes. Welcome back from watching the video. Now we're going to look at stretching the calf muscles. They have two different origin places, same insertion, but two different origin places. So we need to do two different stretches. In the previous lesson, I asked you to do those little quick quarter point rises and then do a calf muscle stretch. I wonder what you did as a calf muscle stretch. You probably did the typical lunge type stretch, where you had one leg going behind you as if it was like a parallel fourth position, and then you lunge forwards a bit on that front leg, feeling the stretch down the back of the back leg. If you did that, congratulations. A few tips would be to make sure, there's two pieces actually, three. Make sure you're parallel, so you're pulling on the fibers of the muscles properly. It's very common for dancers to turn out a little bit. Not for this. The other one is do it in partners, hand to hand for some fun, or at a bar or a wall. Do not do this in the center where you're dealing with the muscles working, both front and back leg, working to help you with balance, because then they're working. They're contracting. They're actively contracting instead of being in a place where you can let it relax. And remember that we need a muscle to relax and stop contracting in order to let those fibers slide apart. And the third one that I remember there was, and we're going to be breathing. Okay, so you're going to be breathing as you stretch it. In fact, what I really suggest is this. Go to your calf muscle stretch position. Breathe in and lift the heel of the back leg so you're not stretching at all. Put your heel down and breathe out. Maintain that stretch position only for as long as you can be actively breathing out. As soon as it's time in the cycle for you to breathe in again, lift up the heel. Breathe out while you're stretching. Breathe in to come out of it. Even doing those 4 breaths where you're actually coupling the breath out with a stretch is better than just holding a stretch for 30 seconds or a minute. Why? If you're trying to release some tension, think of it like you need something for that tension to ride out on. Riding out on your breath is the best way. Okay, and if I'm actively doing the breath, then I know I'm also doing the degree of stretch that's appropriate for me. If you hold your breath because it's painful enough that there's that bracing, you're not stretching in a way that's going to be allowed by the nervous system. It's bracing against you. So by consciously breathing out when you're stretching, you know you're actually letting tension be released. So do that calf muscle stretch, the straight leg version. Check your plie. Probably got deeper. Then do the straight leg version on the other leg. Pause the video, do that, do at least 4 breaths out. Okay, welcome back. Now we're going to do the Soleus stretch. So we did the Gastrocnemius stretch first so that our starting position for the Soleus stretch has some range. So now assume the position of the Gastrocnemius stretch, so that means straight back leg. Now you're going to breathe in that position and then breathe out while you bend your back knee, making sure that it stays parallel. Nothing funny falling in or out. All right, so I breathe in and I return to a straight back leg. I'm still in my lunge at the bar, let's say. Then I breathe out and bend my back knee. I would do just one again and check and see if you have even more depth on your plie. Even though you just did a calf muscle stretch, but now you're doing a secondary other muscle calf muscle stretch. And then of course do the other side. I'm going to make sure you have a what not to do as well here. I don't usually like thinking of what not to do. I only want to say what to do. But in case you've ever seen on a YouTube video, or I don't know where else you'd get it from, TikTok, or somebody ever told you to do a calf muscle stretch where your heels, like say, hang over a block or over the stairs so that your heel drops, don't. Why? Well, you feel such a big stretch. Wow, blah, blah, blah. No. I could do a drop of my heel off a block and get a good stretch, or off a ball, as long as my heel touches ground. So the over the step is an absolute no-no. Over a block might work. When the heel is not touching ground and being grounded, there's going to be some activation, some tension in the calf muscle to try to stabilize. That's why it feels like an intense stretch, because you're now trying to ask for this, right? The separation of the fibers when they're desperately trying to stay together a little bit to stabilize. So it feels like an intense stretch. Ooh, intense must mean good. No, intense is just intense because you're fighting yourself. Not a good plan. All right, so always be sure in a calf muscle stretch that you have a heel that is stabilized. Okay, and that in this case, always for these, that you're parallel. And let's also remember, you're not really stretching the tendon, you're stretching the muscles. Tendons don't really stretch much. They do hold elastic energy, but the tendon itself isn't really stretching. Tendons have an incredibly poor blood supply. They're white. They're white in drawings and stuff, but they're white in real life because there's not really a lot of blood going there to make it more pink or red like muscles. What does that mean? That means that there's no blood supply there should you injure it. It's really hard for it to heal because the blood supply is what helps create the healing. So we do need to be careful with stretching our tendons and our muscles. Always go into it warmed up. I talked about that before. And always go into it gently. And I would also say always link it to breathing out and your breath cycle. Enjoy your depth of plie and fondu. You might even want to do a foot tracing experience just for fun. And what that would mean would be maybe tomorrow you trace your foot, you do a lunge, then you do a bunch of calf muscle stretches. Now it would be hard. So maybe just do one foot like that, a normal foot tracing, then do the big calf muscle stretch stuff on the other foot, and then do a foot tracing and see if the change between the leg that you stretched is even bigger because you have more ability to go into that depth of that lunge. That's what you'd probably do to see. Or you can just trust me and go, yeah, I know I'm going deeper. My arch is starting to respond. My toes are starting to respond. Yay. Teacher's edition. Already made it clear that calf muscle stretches, any stretches, are not a warm-up. But if you want your dancers to be doing good plies right from the beginning of the bar, what can you do? Do the Achilles stripping to release the tension. Then do a few plie exercises, a few tendu exercises, maybe some definite bend and rise, like in the video was where they went plie rise. So you're getting the soleus muscle activated as well, instead of plie, straighten, rise, lower, which will not activate that. Okay, so typical plie exercise construction, at least in the RAD that I know of, they don't go plie push to rise until like advanced 1 or something. It's quite crazy because it's such an important skill. I throw it in back to primary plie push and rise to get that strength and control and what a real slow motion jump would be like. All right, so do some Achilles stripping first, then warm up a little bit, then maybe you do a calf muscle stretch, and then do your fondus where now they're working the depth. Or maybe you go back and do another plie exercise. And if you really want to elevate your dancers for their plie and fondu, and therefore their foot development, put some squats in there as well. Maybe they do their plie exercise, get some muscles going, and then do, hanging onto the bar, 4, 8, 10 squats, where they breathe out and squat down, and then come up. Breathe out and squat down. Stay there for a few counts, maybe remove a hand if they're using it a lot, and come up. And if you have dancers that can squat easily, do it anyway to continue to be able to squat easily, rather than a use it or lose it type situation, okay? Never let them lose it. All right, and you can tell them that. Say, celebrate at this part then. That's cool, celebrate, yay, I still have my squat today. And maybe, you know, they're 85 going, I still have my squat, yay. All right, okay, that's it for today. Okay, and rest there.